Who are these insecurities? The use of area boys, the use of touting, the use of unknown assassins and gunmen, politics, politicians, and elections. I'm familiar with all these claims.
We have to choose between one candidate who wants to burn this party down and another candidate who wants to buy this party out.
Keeping you informed about decisions made and many more. Join 𝐴Ɦ Akinade, other seasoned analysts in the Situation Room every Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Let's identify, analyze, and bring solutions to our situation.
Lagos, Nigeria. Good evening to you wherever you're listening to us from. You are on to mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. Such a pleasure to be with you here on radio. I can only hope that our Muslim brothers and sisters are having a fantastic time enjoying the Eid celebrations. Like I always say, 30 days of starving your body to feed your soul. And I pray that all of the blessings that accompany the period of Eid is yours and that of your family. This is the Situation Room on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, a weekly program that airs Mondays through to Fridays from 4 p.m. all the way to 5:30 p.m. where we have matters, or where we have conversations rather, that border on important matters that pretty much dictate the strength of our polity, that dictates the policies through which we used to run our polity. My name is Sage Babalola. Today on the Situation Room, we intend to continue what we have started all these months. Of course, bring to you very engaging conversations with the help of experts who help to give context to the matters that we discuss on radio. Today is one of such days, and we're talking about a rather sensitive but important topic here on radio. We're talking about state creation and national integration. Of course, the conversation around state creation has been around for quite a while. In fact, the agitations for state creation is almost as old as the Nigerian nation, and the Nigeria 36 states that were formed due to different administrative reorganizations, also created to solve certain ethnic, cultural, maybe even administrative problems. But unfortunately, because of some of the peculiarities that we have as a nation, we have more problems than what we expected the creation of states to solve. As a matter of fact, only recently, the Social-Cultural Organization 𝐴ᴜᴜ worldwide threatened to sue the Nigerian government over its failure to create an additional state in the southeast. The President General of 𝐴ᴜᴜᴜ, Emmanuel Wanyawu, in a statement said it's improper that the southeast is the only region with 5 states, and this unfair arrangement have for years deprived the southeast of proportionate national wealth distribution, also political considerations, amongst other things. Well, today on the program, we're going to discuss extensively the principles of state creation. We're going to talk about this national integration as well, how it is significant to national integration vis-a-vis the demand of the southeastern leaders for an additional state. And joining me in the Situation Room this evening is lawyer and public affairs analyst Barrister Lɪਧᴇ, who is going to help us in interrogating the principle of state creation in Nigeria and how we can use this to achieve common nationhood. It's a pleasure to have you on radio, sir. Good evening to you and happy holidays.
Yeah, good evening and happy holidays to Sage.
Thank you so much for giving us your time today. We appreciate you. So, sir, let's get straight into the conversation for today, the principle of state creation and national integration. And earlier in my introduction, I gave some sort of insight into why this is an important conversation, especially with the threat by 𝐴ᴜᴜᴜ, the social-cultural group that says they might go as far as invoking the law if the federal government fails to create an additional state state in the southeast. Can we begin like this? Can we get some sort of historical context as to the concept of state creation and why a proportionate number of states is this significant to the southeastern leaders? Just a very brief understanding of why this is a topic that is very significant to the southeastern leaders.
Yes, if you remember in the first republic, we had the northern region, the southern region, the eastern region, and then the middle belt comprising the Benue, Kaduna, and some parts of Kwara. And for political consideration, during some of the constitutional conference, and what to be included in the constitution on the ground that the people and ethnicity in Nigeria are different. So there were constitutional conferences and debates, both in London and in Nigeria, in Lagos. And in some of those constitutional conferences, I forget the name of the author now, one of these British authors, he shared in one of those conferences in his life. That was the greatest debate he has ever heard from, politicians and political participants. The floor was yielded for Babalola of the Action Group and then Dr. Nnamdi of the FCNC on arguing it was a case for secession and the fear of the minority. There were the minority groups from the Middle Belt and some from the Midwestern states who were scared that their fears might not be addressed and that there was need to create an opportunity for secession if their worries and fears, inclusiveness, are not addressed. I'm just trying to paraphrase. And so to address that, it was the views of Chief Babalola then that there should be a clause for secession referendum, a referendum for secession, and our Chief Dr. Nnamdi's position was that there should be provision for state creation to assuage the fears of the minority. Remember before then there was a Williams Commission that was set up, to address the challenges of the minority. And that was where the famous statement of Chief Babalola was made that if we start to create states until a Kenneth village become a state, Nigerians will not reign. Eventually, the issue of referendum was included in that constitution, and that was what eventually led to the creation of the then Midwestern state, and which later became Denver state, and that was the only state that was created via a referendum. All other states were created by fiat because of the Aduri Accords, the crisis of the Civil War, the declaration of Biafra by Chief Ojukwu, and then the reneging on the accord by Yakubu Gowon, and then the subsequent creation of the 12 states, which later became 19, and from there it became 21 states, and today we have 36, and there is a clamor for state creation. So that's a brief history of how we started with this state creation. And now, today, there is this clamor by some persons that we should go back again to the regions. That it was better when we had regions than this state, because if you look at the state creation also, there's clearly some form of imbalance. And if you look at clearly the northeast, for example, the southeastern part of Nigeria has about
6 states.
I think 7 states. 7 states.
The Northeast has 6, the Northwest 7.
Yes, the Northeast has 6, the Northwest has 7.
Yeah.
And the Southeast is the region with the least states. That's 5.
Yeah.
Yes, you can also say that is the region with the least geographical space. But that is not, that is also neither here nor there, because we were talking about regions. You know, you had, like I said, I gave you instances with the 6 geographical regions that we had. And if we're talking about regions, then the Southeast being a region, also there should be equity and balance, you know, between all of the regions. If you say, you know, they should have 5 states apiece, then it should all be 5 states apiece, because you have what do you call it? The senatorial representation are by state. So if you have the Northwest that has 7 states, you have the Northeast that has 6 states, and then you have South that has 6 states, and you have North Central with 6 states, and Southwest has 6 states, and the Southeast with just 5 states. What it means is that in terms of senatorial representation, certainly one region, you know, that has 7 states will always, you know, have majority votes in terms of voting. While the region with the least states, which is Southeast, will have the least voting. And then in terms of also, I will find out that revenue allocation and distribution also, you know, are done, you know, via states. So all of these are some of the disadvantages of these regions with the least states. And so that's why there's been this cry. People are no longer looking at the geographical area. People are also not looking at considering all other factors. But for equity's sake, I think there's need actually. Nobody is saying remove one from the Northwest because it's already 7. All they are just saying is let's have a balance, so that others that have 6, let the Southeast also be a part. In terms of revenue sharing also, if you look at the Southeast with the least number of states, in terms of the revenue that they also share, we would also agree that the Southeast actually carries the least revenue from federal allocation. The South has more, followed by the Southwest, and then the Southeast is least. So even though, yes, so that's why there's a disclaimer. That's why there's a disclaimer for equity, fairness, and balance by the party. And I agree with them.
All right. Well, I apologize for interrupting you, but I really want to extract from some of the things that you've said. You know, you spoke about like the wealth distribution, for example. The Southeast is disadvantaged because they have the least amount of states, also senatorial representation. But I would like to understand what evidence, you know, there is that states or regions that have more states are actually far more developed and have better representation. And allow me to explain that. The North, for example, the locality of the North, 19 states, but there is evidence that points that the North is in a way one of the most underdeveloped region, if you allow me say that, because the most out of school children, child marriages, what have you, it's mostly in the North. So if, you know, the Southeastern leaders are saying that we do not get a proportionate amount of wealth distribution, we don't get as much representation, and so what proof is there that having a high amount of state is going to be proportional to having development?
That argument also, these are not arguments that can start strong in terms of the modern day reality and the challenges that confront us. You know why?
Why? Because
state development are done by the state administrators and not the federal government. If the federal government were the one in charge of developing all of the states, that's when you now begin to say, well, even though you have less states, you have more development coming from the federal government. So there shouldn't be any ground for complaint. But the fact that the state gets an allocation and rather than focus on education and building amenities, they would focus on humanities like sponsoring Hajj and relegate education, and would rather send their own kids to Western education while they tell other kids that Western education is forbidden. Then you shouldn't use that to hold down those that want to move fast, those that want to move forward, those that believe that, look, what you are giving us compared to what you are giving our counterpart is not enough. So give us what, we are not asking you to give us more. What they are basically saying is, give us in equal measures with what you are giving our counterpart. Don't say, because that this argument you are propounding has been the argument that has been on since 1980 something, 1970 something, as long as I can remember. And people say educationally disadvantaged. Even though you get less revenue, but these other states that get more revenue are educationally disadvantaged. And so there's need for you to stop your development, to pause your progress so that they can meet up with you. And yet, these same people you are pursuing your progress for are not ready to meet up with you. You go to federal government colleges, for example, the cutoff mark for some states in northeast, northwest is reduced intentionally so they can get people from this area for unity purpose. And the cutoff mark for states from south and then southwest, southeast is increased because they say you are from educationally advantaged places. And I miss attending the federal university because my state is not one of their catchment area, even though I scored high in JAM. But my colleagues who didn't do